Welcome to What the Flick. Ben and John, what is today? Today is January 25th as we shoot this, so we're 3 months away. April 24th.
A good portion of the way now.
Season 6.
Yes.
Of Game of Thrones, of what we now know is 8, at least.
They say.
8. Yeah. But, I mean, they're not going to go less than 8.
No.
Yeah,
and if they can make more money.
And I'm sure if they can figure out a way to get to 10, they'll go to 10. But right now...
20 sounds good.
Right, 29 seasons, as many as The Simpsons. So we have 3 trailers out. There's also, we think, an old trailer from HBO that I want to talk about because you make an interesting point about that, and I don't say that often because you don't make many.
It's a good idea to cut away from me there because I was going to flip off the camera.
So
3 house trailers.
3 house trailers. They're very short. They're 25 seconds each, and really there's just about
one line of
12
dialogue,
seconds of information, and then it's just a HP. But so let's take a look at the first one of those. Let's take a look at the House Lannister trailer first from HBO. Preview, Game of Thrones, Season 6.
Every one of us is poor and powerless. And yet together, we can overthrow an empire.
So you think that's Jonathan Pryce? That's the High Sparrow?
Yeah, I think so. But both thematically it fits.
Sure,
and also
because
I'm
he
pretty
says
sure that's his voice.
we're poor, we have nothing.
We're poor, we're powerless, but together we can overthrow an empire.
Right. Now, I thought maybe that was a Bernie Sanders ad.
Exactly. Shame. Shame.
By the way, how great would it be if Bernie Sanders used that?
If he started dressing in like those robes, no shoes, and he was like washing the debate floor. Don't do that, Bernie.
Stop.
I am excited about that. Well, I mean, first of all, like a running theme that's going to go through all these is that the sort of traditional enemies have been big houses going against the Starks who we're supposed to favor, but now it's not. It's these other smaller powers that are starting to come about because all the houses have torn each other to shreds.
Right, as evidenced by the condition of the flags in all 3 of these trailers. But think about that for a second because, I mean, talk about mirroring life, right? I mean, this used to be a battle between big houses. You knew your enemy. Starks, the Lannisters had an enemy, right?
Yeah.
And now we don't know who the enemy is. Now the enemy is a fringe little renegade terrorist group, right?
And if you want to carry the analogy a little bit farther, like it used to be, you know, like the Starks and the Lannisters, like the Americans and the Soviets. But to sort of get power up on the big house, you start to fund this insurgent group in Afghanistan with weapons, except it turns out they're actually religious crazy people inside of Westeros. And I'm all mixed up, but you get the idea.
I think we get the idea.
And I think that this might be the storyline that I think is going to end up being the most interesting. I'm not going to do any spoilers or anything. This is one of the few ones where I still know a little bit that hasn't happened yet. But the idea that Cersei has sort of tried to make this a group that will give her her independent base of power and is just now really realizing that she was wrong. And we saw at the close of the last season, she wants revenge. And I think that generally when she wants revenge, she goes about it in a very rational way and doesn't
surrounds
overstep.
herself with top advisors.
Top advisors that aren't weird, creepy necromancers.
Yeah, she'll probably sanctions.
Sanctions, yes. So I think it's exciting what's going to happen in King's Landing.
Yeah, you know, because of the enormity of what happened at the end of season 5 with the men of the Night's Watch turning on Jon.
Yeah.
Like, I think lost was that, to me, landslide the most dangerous people who have yet emerged in Game of Thrones are in King's Landing.
Yeah, and we've gotten little snippets of information about how the reason they were disarmed and have been in this lowly state that they've been, the church, although rich, is because they were tyrants back when they had power. And
the church, like it's the conservative wing of the church. It's the fringe wing of the church. Yeah. There was a church before, but those guys were, dropping into the brothels.
Exactly, yeah. But also they were not allowed to have a standing military.
Right. Weren't allowed to have a standing military. And in general, not arming the church and giving the standing military is probably a good way to go about government.
I'd go with that.
Yeah, some separation of church and state, perhaps.
Maybe put a wall made of ice about a mile high. Put that between the church and state.
And the Lannisters in general, I mean,
they're in a tough way.
They've been crippled.
Literally,
yeah. But also, so what's curious about Cersei, because we see that she is going back to the beginning, as Anna said, when you play the Game of the Thrones. Like, she's good at this. She's very good at this. She's evil and terrible and needs to be taken down.
Yeah.
But now in a position where she doesn't have power, not even anything close to power, will she use her Machiavellian ways for some good? I don't mean that her motivations will be good, but might she recognize now, I'm going to need to ally myself with some people and to get this back? Like, is there a...
Well, I disagree a little bit because she does still have power. I mean, her family they have their own military. They technically have the gold cloaks. They've got the King's Guard. But I mean, that might be matched not just by the church, which has their own military, and it would be difficult to have that fight in the streets of King's Landing. But you also have the Tyrells, who she would have been able to turn to if she hadn't been trying to set up the Tyrells.
But I mean, does she recognize, you know what, forget it, I'll take a power sharing agreement with the
I think
Tyrells.
a reasonable person would.
Right, so that's what I'm saying. Will she have reason in her because she's been knocked so far down?
Maybe. The enemy on my enemy.
Because they're both, the what's her name, Gladys Tyrell, that's not her name.
Marjorie?
Marjorie is still, I knew it was an old name.
Ethel Tyrell.
She's still locked up, right? Did she get out?
I believe that she's still locked up.
Yeah.
I don't think that we saw her actually get out. But maybe she'll do a walk of shame.
Game of Thrones, more effective than any show I can ever remember, has me so viscerally charged to have the people I hate get it. You know? Like, man, I want those guys to get it. I want, you know. And then you end up rooting for insane people.
For insane people, because they're all insane, yeah. So we also have the Starks.
We also have the Starks, and then also, but to finish the Lannisters, so we also, I mean, there's still Jaime. Where's Jaime?
Oh, well, the last that we saw of Jaime, I believe, is he's on the boat off the coast of Dorne. He'd just been reunited with his daughter. She admitted that she knew he was her father.
And then he died.
And then she dies of poison.
Because she died of poison, so he's going to go back. So Bronn is still alive with Jaime, and where's Tyrion? Tyrion has now made, and the road to making peace with Tanya Targaryen.
Tanya Targaryen, yeah, you landed it. Daenerys. So he shows up. Unfortunately, Daenerys leaves shortly thereafter. So he's now part of that.
Where did she go?
Well, she went flying off on the dragon.
That's how it ended? She went flying off on the dragon?
No. Then she lands, she walks off from the dragon, and the Khalasar of Dothraki come up and surround her. I believe that's the last we see of her.
Oh, so that's
so they're now in the city, and they're going to have to govern the city.
We'll talk about that in a sec, because we have a Targaryen trailer that relates to the Dothrakis. But let's get to the Stark trailer, which is what you were trying to do before, and I'm an idiot. So here is the second HBO trailer, House Stark.
Winterfell is mine. Come and see.
So that's Ramses.
Ramses' voice, sounds like, yeah.
Yeah. Is it Ramses or Ramsey?
Ramses Bolton.
Ramsey Bolton.
I'd leave him there. Just let him have it. It's a wreck anyway.
It is a wreck. But where is what's her name now? She's just outside the city? Is she?
Sansa jumped off.
They jumped
with Theon.
With Theon, and there's no debate whether they survived. They survived. We were set up with.
I'm sure.
There's a huge snowbank. Like they can survive that fall.
When people die, they die.
Yeah.
Generally. And so in close proximity to Brienne, who's been looking for a really long time.
And hopefully, and found her at one point, but was
rebuffed.
So hopefully, Brienne can convince them. Yeah. I'm here, and I'm with you. I'm helping you. I'll ride with you.
So the idea is that he's saying, come and take it. And this is, again, the Boltons. Like the church, they are what used to be not a minor power, but a smaller side power that were brought up by, actually in this case, also by the Lannisters, and now are their own independent threat. So he's saying, it's mine, come and get it. So who is he talking to there?
He's talking to anybody, because he is not capable of governance.
Well, he's not interested, I would say.
He's interested in fighting. He wants somebody to come.
Yeah,
I mean,
he wants
to some extent, he'll be satisfied getting a sword through the heart. That's how. Yeah, that's how he wants to go. He wants to fight. Yeah. He wants to win. But if he loses, what he can't do is
sit there.
He can't sit around and even be in power. I mean, he can't.
No, he's not interested.
It won't. It doesn't work.
Sex
for him.
and hunting people, that lasts for a little while.
It could probably work for his father. Could probably do it. His father be
he just wants to be comfortable.
Right now, I'm comfortable. We got it. Like, let's just.
Yeah, and expand if possible. So, I mean, theoretically, like, Jon Snow did want to do something about it, and then he was unfortunately stabbed to death.
Okay. Zero chance that Jon Snow's dead. The Jon Snow doesn't come back. I got it. He's dead. Death has come to him.
It would seem odd to have sent Melisandre back if that wasn't going to happen.
It's inconceivable.
So theoretically, he would be the one to then do something
evidence.
with the wildlings.
I don't know. There's no definitive answer until we see the show. But initially, there was talk that he wasn't. He gave pretty good answers, but like, I am not in season 6, he said. Right? Well, there's 8 seasons. Like, saying you're not in season.
Even then, I don't even think they'd wait a year.
I don't think so either, because then we saw some indication in some reports that he was.
No, he's been filming.
That he's shooting.
He's a liar.
Yeah. So
he's a big liar.
Right. So there's no way.
You bastard.
Melisandre came back to the wall.
Yeah.
She's raising him from the dead. Will he be? What's interesting is what does it mean? He will be changed in some way. Will he be weaker? Will he be stronger in some way? Will he recognize more of his strengths that he maybe didn't recognize before? And of course we know he's alive, because the whole reason that Weiss and Benioff were hired by George R.R. Martin was because they successfully answered the question, who's Jon Snow's mother? Like, he asked them that when they were pitching the show, because he got pitched. I've told the story before, but it's a compelling story. He was
Dorothy Tyrell. We know that.
Debbie Tyrell. A number of people, of course, came to him to make movies of these books for years.
Yeah.
And Martin said, I knew that if I just turned it into a movie, it would be about the beautiful blonde girl with the dragons, and then that would be it. You know,
I would watch that.
And right, but it wouldn't be the full story. So these guys came, and he was intrigued by the idea of HBO taking this on for however many seasons it would be. And one of the questions he asked them to determine whether they were serious about it, whether they were serious fans, was, who's Jon Snow's mother?
Yeah.
And if Martin is asking that, well, then obviously it's super important to Martin. And if Jon Snow is dead, then who cares who his mother was?
It's interesting in an academic sense.
Right.
But it doesn't really matter for the realm necessarily.
But it matters to Martin, so it matters to the show. So
we
Jon
expect
Snow
he'll come back.
has to be back,
Yeah, it's interesting that it's the Stark trailer when... Look, nobody thinks Sansa's retaking the castle. Arya is involved in a really... I'm sorry, she's a great actress, really boring side quest, often Bravos. She's not doing anything about it. So Robb isn't doing much these days. Bran is up getting psychic training up in Canada. And Rickon is off on the island of the cannibals, and I think the actor's in 7th grade now. He's not even paying attention. So obviously Jon Snow needs to be coming back for that even to be a Stark trailer. It's not the Winterfell trailer, it's the Stark trailer.
That's right. It was the Stark, it was their flag. But Arya is interesting, of course. I mean, I get it that storyline. First, she's blind right now.
That's true. So she couldn't even find the castle.
You know where it is.
Even if she wanted to.
That's not cool.
That's true. No, that's how bad that world was to people with any kind of disability.
We denounce and reject.
That's one of the improvements we have made as a world.
But Bran, obviously, he sat out last season, but he's coming back.
Yeah.
And that other trailer, which we'll show at the end of this, which came out earlier, focuses on Bran, because he had that thing I didn't like at the end of season 4 with the supernatural Star Trek phasers.
The phasers, yes. Yeah, the elf phasers.
Yeah, I should probably watch that again, but that was...
No, you won't like it anymore.
I didn't like that. So, but he's out there, and he has great power, and
theoretically,
and we think, and it may be that and he's incredibly close to Jon. That was
closer than the others.
They had a connection. So it seems like Jon would return. I mean, by the way, Jon taking over Winterfell is now not enough.
Yeah, there's that, but if only because with the horde of the undead coming south, you can't have Ramsay at your back.
By the way, I literally forgot. Like the most important
zombie army is coming.
I'm like, God, about
zombie dude.
The most evil people, the people we have to worry about are. I'm talking about the nonsense, the
church,
in King's Landing. Forget the church. That's right.
Yeah. Brigham Young can wait. Okay, we got to deal with the zombies from.
Yeah, I mean, you got to make a lot of Valyrian steel swords to chop down those guys.
Yeah.
Where are they?
Who?
Where are they right now?
The zombies?
Yeah, when we left.
Well, we saw them at Hardhome. They had that military conflict, I guess, when they were trying to rescue the wildlings that were stuck at Hardhome, and he made more. We don't know that that's the entirety of the military, but they're not that far.
So at the wall are a number of wildlings, and obviously the King's Watch, who would
let through the wildlings
to turn on the wildlings. Did the wildlings go off yet? Remember, John,
I don't know if it's
John
clear.
wanted to send them off to do
to basically to settle and colonize that area,
and to
which has probably happened.
bring
to some
everybody
extent.
together.
Yeah.
To fight.
Although
this
we
army.
don't know with him being killed.
Right, we don't know, but we assume he's going to. I would imagine that if he comes back, maybe the men of the Night's Watch will be like, wow.
That's impressive, yeah.
Maybe we should listen to this guy.
Yeah, he did come back from the dead. But realistically, if the Night's Watch wanted to take out the wildlings, I don't see how they possibly could. They're outnumbered 50 to 1, which is why they didn't want him to bring them on that side. So maybe they had a point there. So yeah, we don't know exactly what's going to happen with that story.
All right, so now, and then the last we saw Daenerys. She had gone off on the dragon, stopped, and then got surrounded by what appeared to be
Dothraki.
Dothraki, of course, that was her
former people.
Her
or
former
she forgot
people.
about
It was her first husband.
Exactly. Which is awkward.
It's so weird to see you guys. You know, my first husband was Dothraki. Anyway, let's take a look at that trailer.
Yervosak. Yorak mahake sonjeri. Halesi vosi.
And not a lot of information there, but what I like is that I didn't remember that part. Obviously, I don't remember anything, so it's good to talk to you because I've been reminded. But I thought maybe that was Valyrian.
I don't think so.
You think it's...
It sounds like every Dothraki word I've ever... Voshtogoth. It's like, okay, you're not a Klingon, I know that, so clearly you're Dothraki.
I just like how certain you are that that's definitely Dothraki.
Well, and not just Dothraki, but it's Eastern Great Grass Sea Dothraki. You can tell with how the
that's made up language A, not made up language B.
Oh, made up, but made up in a very detailed sense. I actually interviewed the guy who made it up at one point.
Is that right? No, it's very impressive.
Cool guy.
Look, everything about the show's impressive. It's just fun to make fun of. So, and what do we imagine? You know, do they see her, according to that, Queen of Nothing? They're not impressed that she was. Can she win them over? Or, I mean, of course it's Game of Thrones. Mother of Dragons, they could kill her. I doubt it.
They could,
but they could kill her.
I don't think they will. I love being able to talk about this because I don't know anything that you guys don't know,
right now.
Which is awesome. And the show is going to go far past where the books are. So, look, saying she's Queen of Nothing, they don't care about the rulers of towns and castles and stuff like that. And she might say, well, I was a Khaleesi, but we already know. A former Khaleesi, yes, they won't slaughter her for the most part, but they will send her to join the Dosh Kalin or whatever in Vaes Dothrak. She's just supposed to be one of the crones now.
Is Dosh Kalin a real word?
I think that's the organization of crones at Vaes Dothrak. So, but all of those crones that had her eat the horse heart, she's supposed to be part of that now.
You're never getting a girlfriend. It's never going to happen. Not one time.
No, she'll be impressed at my knowledge of the backstory. Canonical knowledge exceeding any other. Sometimes George R. R. Martin asks me questions. But they would be sending her back. But obviously she's going to try to intimidate them. Will they be impressed by a dragon, which is not far off? Maybe.
Maybe, yeah.
And she could certainly use that to break the siege around Meereen.
Which dragon did she go off on? Do you remember?
I think Drogon.
Oh yeah, Drogon the dragon.
I think Drogon the great black dragon. I believe.
Dragon the dragon.
Yeah. The biggest and most dragony of dragons.
And the most, but again, she's not able to really control them. They appear that they won't hurt her.
Yeah.
But they're, although it did come.
Although that one rescued her, so it seemed like they bonded a little bit.
And it didn't.
But wouldn't take her back.
Right, but didn't kill, knew not to kill, Tyrion and and we haven't even mentioned Tyrion and all this. It was of course, to most of us the most interesting.
One of the most interesting characters who's going to now have to manage a city, which we know, by the way, he does a good job of.
Yeah, he is.
If you had to have somebody, you probably want him, and maybe Varys, who's also there.
Everybody would be enjoying clean drinking water in Flint if Tyrion were in charge.
Yes.
He'd have figured that out.
Yeah, and the great stimulus to the horror economy. if Tyrion was in town.
That's right.
Yeah.
So there you go. 3 different trailers, as we said, Lannister, Stark, Targaryen. Amazing what you can do with just 25 seconds to get idiots like us.
It's like 10 seconds of audio.
Right. And the last 13 seconds
Ramsay said 6 words.
All it said was it was an HBO ad.
I think it was literally 6 words, yeah. Yeah. And then an awesome flag that's all tattered. I mean, we want chaos. When the show has had periods that were a little bit boring, like we love walking and talking in gardens. That is entertaining. But when there's a long span of that, that is when the show is at the relative low point. But when it's chaos, it's exciting, and these are setting us up for chaos all across the world.
Walking and talking in the garden. That's also
Downton Abbey.
That's also Downton Abbey. That's right. Okay, guys. So thanks so much for watching. We'll be here with our Game of Thrones reviews. It starts April 24th, right here on What the Flick. Make sure to catch all our recaps. John Iadarola, Ben Mankiewicz. Thanks.